It's a sad day on Sesame Street. Big Bird, $7.99. Convicted of murder, Christopher Robin. If you know, you know. I will never recover from this student's email. Good afternoon, Professor. Hope you had a great break. I was wondering if it would be acceptable to use sources from the late 1900s for our final paper. I found an interesting paper from 1994. Is there a cutoff date of publication? See you tomorrow. Remember going through the phone book to order a pizza? How many of you guys had the number to your favorite pizza restaurant memorized? And by favorite pizza restaurant, I mean Pizza Hut. But he's your son. Bull, I bet he looks nothing like me. That is a pretty good explanation. My emotions speak louder than words. If I don't say it, my facial expressions will. This is true. While camping in the woods, the Human Torch is stomped to death by Smokey the Bear. I'm old enough to remember when ice cream came in a box. How about being old enough to remember when ice cream was always a full half-gallon?
Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Could you do something about it?
There is a fly in your soup in this establishment?
Yeah.
I shall do something about it instantaneously, sir. Yes, sir, a fly in your soup.
Pizza Hut just arrived. You got Super Mario Bros. 3. You have permission to stay up late and there's no school tomorrow. You're 48 years old and it's 2024. If you know what this is, drop it down in the comments. We all had a playroom growing up. It was called outside. I'm this old. May the 4th be with you. Yeah, I'm late on this one. Kids these days with their fancy Fortnite skins will never know the joy of seeing Mario inexplicably dressed like a freaking flying raccoon for the first time. Yeah, I never did quite understand that. How did they come up with the idea that putting a raccoon tail and ears on him made him able to fly? Parents become grandparents and lose all their senses. All of a sudden, they got McDonald's money now. Wouldn't have guessed that he would have been the last one left alive. This game was at every single restaurant dining table, and only a true Gen X mastermind could figure this out. This is true. I remember playing this game at restaurants when I was a kid while we waited for our food to arrive. Once you get it figured out, it's actually pretty easy. I agree. It's just getting ridiculous about how they want you to scan these stupid QR codes all the time now. I told a teenager today I used to get 10 CDs for a penny in the mail. And I'm not sure if she thinks I'm lying about what a CD was, what a penny is, or what the mail is. Or all three. Some kids grow up reading stories about princes and princesses. Meanwhile, I grew up reading these. If you could have one original movie prop from an 80s movie, what would it be? The time machine from Back to the Future. Here's Chewbacca when he was in 5th grade. I think that's a pretty accurate description. I'm this old. When I first saw this, I kind of thought it was just a joke. But I actually looked this up, guys. This is real. They've brought back the Oregon Trail. I'd kind of like to play it, just to see how it compares. I bet this one is a whole lot easier than the one that we played back in the day. In the 80s, we never worried about our TV being stolen. It took 4 people just to move it a few inches to the left. Back in the day, you didn't just go up and tell someone how you felt. You spent hours making them the perfect mixtape that would explain it. If someone gave you a mixtape, you knew it just got real. How many of you guys still use music to speak to someone without ever saying a word? Either by sending them a playlist, or even just playing a specific song when they're around. Drop it in the comments. What did you call these when you were growing up? There was only one thing that I ever heard anyone call them. Roly-polies. What'd you guys call them? My 11-year-old son just discovered Tetris. Came home to him boasting about scoring 15,000 points. Cracked my knuckles and played for the first time in 25 years. Dropped 73,000 points on his head. Now he's angrily muttering to himself, and I'm doing karate kicks on the front porch. Tetris is still one of my favorite games. Who rocked one of these awesome fur jackets back in the day? No, I just like my leather coats. As a matter of fact, I still have, and sometimes wear, my leather coat from high school. Going to bed in the 80s. No internet, no mobile phone. We did have a radio alarm clock though. This brings back memories. Yeah, I slept on a waterbed one night. After that, I never wanted to sleep on one ever again. I can just see me trying to sleep on one now. I hurt bad enough as it is. Back in my day, we didn't have GPS. We ran out of gas on deserted back roads and wound up in B-movie horror films. Everyone back then carried paper maps. I still have updated paper maps, because GPS won't always be here. On a side note, why are they asking the Maytag guy for directions? If you're Gen X, you remember these awesome cups. Yes, we do. I'm this old, walking by the teacher's desk trying to find my name while acting like I needed help. How about trying to find the teacher's pen so you can go through and attempt to change your scores without them being able to tell? I can taste this picture. I think this is true for just about all of us. Going to bed early. Not leaving my house. Not going to a party. My childhood punishments have become my adult goals. How many of you had your mother or grandmother that had one of these in their sewing kit? My grandmother and my mom both had these. As a matter of fact, my mom still has these. If you know, you know. Today's kids will never know the struggle of having to wait for these to finish rewinding. But you didn't use your VCR to rewind them. You had your separate tape rewinder. Once it got done and popped up, you took it out of it, put it in your VCR, and played it. This saved a lot of wear and tear on the VCR from just having to rewind tapes. Millennials trying to send a text without adding LOL at the end. I think this is like Gen X trying not to use ellipses, otherwise known as ... Things nobody said in the 80s and 90s. I'll just throw two up here that I'd say most of us are thinking. People who says that they're offended at everything. And also, usually those same group of people, whenever they're presented with facts and they don't have an answer, their response is always, "You're racist." We had 24-hour Walmarts and $1 McChickens. We had it all. Also had $1 double cheeseburgers. Just once, I'd like to clock out of work by sliding down a dinosaur. I'm gonna say Candyman 5 times while my homie says Beetlejuice 3 times. And we gonna make them fight. Who would you guys bet on winning? Beetlejuice or Candyman? Drop it in the comments. The problem is that younger me never thought there would be an older me. Probably in a little bit different way than most people are thinking. But yes, this is 1000% accurate. E.T. himself, Matthew Demerit. I did not know this, guys. How many of you knew this? Remember when a 5-pack of blank VHS tapes was an amazing gift? Yeah, especially the Scotch or Sony tapes. Kids today will never know. The first real iPhone. This was probably the most irrational childhood fear that I had. In a swimming pool? Maybe. However, these days, better watch out if you're in the Mississippi River, or even the Ohio and some of the other tributary rivers that go into Mississippi. Because there's more and more bull sharks in all of these rivers today. And even in some of the lakes now. Because they got in there when there was flooding happening, and continued to thrive. My generation never had babysitters. Our parents just told us to lock the door and don't open it for nobody. Let's settle this. The only time you should be pouring cereal into milk is when you're on the second bowl and the milk is from the first. Yes, that is true. Where I come from, this is also known as a flathead screwdriver. Point of view: visiting your grandma. My grandmother would just give you all of them. Be the person Mr. Rogers always knew you could be. Kids today have no idea that about 30 years ago, Champion was a cheap sports brand sold on the back shelves at Kmart for around $1.99 a shirt, and you got laughed at in school for wearing it. It was just a couple years ago when I realized that people thought Champion was like a mainstream brand now. Which, back in the day, they're right. It was just a cheap store brand line. Who remembers Topps bubblegum juice cartons from back in the day? I don't know if I remember these or not. The apple juice one seems vaguely familiar. Michael Knight, first man to own a smartwatch. Real ones, no. If you know what movie this is from, drop it in the comments. Sometimes I'd like to drop my kid in 1990 and see just how long they make it. Remember playing outside and not in the house? That's just about all we ever did. Teeny little super guy. How many of you guys remember him? Danny Glover was just 41 when he decided he was getting too old for this. Let that sink in. Yeah, me too. If you don't know who these heroes are, then you have no business celebrating Cinco de Mayo. It's a wonder that movie hasn't been banned for being racist or culture appropriation or whatever other garbage. When I was a child, all my mom had to do to shut me up was give me the look. Yep, she didn't have to say a word. Most people seem to have forgotten who the world's greatest motivational speaker truly is. We were too young to realize Slowpoke Rodriguez was always high. I never thought about that before, but they're probably right. Children of today will never know how competitive field day was. That's true, but I don't ever remember a 4th and 5th place. Me trying to be a ray of sunshine. When I accidentally select Espanol at the ATM, but still successfully complete my transaction. Best smells of the 1980s. When you pissed off Scotty. They should have had him doing something like that in Star Trek. That'd have been hilarious. I'm so sorry, Captain. It's quite alright, Ensign. But it wasn't quite alright. Ensign Soy Gomez disappeared shortly afterward, never to be seen or heard from again. Yeah, guys, they finally started making drinking water safe garden hoses. Actually, this is probably for an RV, but still. Gen Z will never understand the pain and embarrassment of a group of cowboys outing you for getting your salsa from New York City. I'm so glad I grew up when I did. Today's cartoons are terrible. That's putting it lightly in a lot of cases nowadays. What kids drink today? What we drank as kids. Now, goes back to the earlier slide. When we were kids, we laughed at the commercial. Help! I've fallen and I can't get up. I get it now. And it's not so funny. Teachers really used to hype up the end of the year party just to serve us this. Yeah, the so-called pizza parties are really just fundraisers because they'd get the pizzas for really cheap and then have them cut in 12 or 16 slices. I just need people to understand that before cell phones, we had to call landlines. And your friend's parents would answer, and you had to talk to their parents until your friend came to the phone. Like they would ask you about school and your family, and sometimes hit you with a trick question that accidentally got your friend in trouble. It was a whole deal, people. No helmet, no elbow pads, no shin guards, just a boy and his bike. That's how we rolled. Terminator dirt bike, 125 cc's with a 37 speed transmission. It did seem that way. I'm usually against graffiti, but I'm sort of impressed. This isn't graffiti. This is actual art. Stuff like this is what needs to be hanging in a museum, instead of canvases that look like a 3-year-old just threw paint at it. Click on one of the videos above to help support the channel. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I thank you all for watching. This is Akorn, over and out.